Welcome back to season 3 of the Overnight Success podcast. We're really excited for this season, and it was fun to recap back in season 1 and 2 of 2025. As I mentioned to a friend this past week that we were kicking off season 3, she went, "Whoa, we're already on season 3?" And it's been a neat journey to actually build a lifestyle where this podcast correlates well with our business, but also with how we show up and give back to our community. And so, Jon, I'm really excited to talk about what we're going to dive into this year in this particular season of season 3, kind of what we've learned, where we're going, and all those things. So thank you for joining me on the kickoff episode.
Yeah, this is great. Like to your point, like season 3 is kind of crazy. I know technically this is the kickoff of year 2, but season 3. And we were talking before we hit record of how we are very intentional with the way that we've kind of split up these seasons, right? So the gap between season 1 and season 2 was over the summer. We knew we wanted to take some time off. We wanted to create that space so we could come back even stronger. I think there's times out there that if you kind of keep pushing through it, there are times that, you can push through the monotony and things like that, but then you kind of slowly lose quality over time. So both of us said like, hey, let's take these breaks. Let's come up with some ideas in between them. And there was a shift between season 1 and season 2, right? Like we had a lot more guests in season 2, and now we're kicking off season 3. And I think we did pretty well in season 2. So I don't see a big change between season 2 and season 3, but it is a new year. And we're kind of talking about where the optimization specialist will be going in the new year, and kind of just coming back with a breath of fresh air, as the phrase goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, we're going to be speaking co-founder conversations is something I want to bring back into this season. We did that in season 1, but not so much in season 2 because we had so many great guests. We're going to have some great guests this season. I know you've already recorded a couple episodes. We've got some guest invites out there. And these are really those, how did the founder get to where they are today? And what is that journey? What's that story look like? And I know I learned a lot. It was also really neat to go deeper into those conversations. And so looking forward to where those go this year. And especially as we talk about our intention word. And so last year, as we kicked off this podcast, our intention word was visibility. And I think we did a really good job of that by highlighting across different platforms and creating the space to get better at doing something that we've never done before, right? And this year, our intention word is community. And so I kind of want to dive into that because as business owners, I think, we set goals, we set metrics, we set KPIs to get us to where we're trying to go. But an intention word really helps keep us grounded. And I know there were days where it was hard for me to show up. Like I'm human. And when I looked at the word visibility, it was like, okay, well, how do I show up visibly in this organization that we're scaling? And this year is about community. And so how are we doing that? Right. And excited to talk through that, but I'd be curious kind of too, what your thoughts are based on the word community, Jon.
Yeah. I mean, for one, I think it shows a sense of growth. So when I worked at a company, Hazel, they help provide therapy to students in schools. And every year we kind of went up a grade level, which was a pretty cool way, like at a corporation, to kind of see, I forget when I ended up leaving, we were in like grade 4 or something like that. And so we kind of just looked at things and they used that as mature. They could definitely always draw back references to that of like, hey, we've been doing this for a while now. We're starting to get our feet underneath us. And so when I look at visibility last year, as is common with a lot of startup businesses, you kind of just want to see, do people like me? Am I getting any traction anywhere? Right? Like that's really was our focus for visibility. We're just trying all these different things to see what works and what doesn't. And so now as we come into the new year with a word of community, this starts to bring in more people than just us. And I think like it shows a little bit of maturity and growth. And it kind of hits home a little bit more to like where you and I both enjoy spending our time. Like that's really how we came up with community. Like you have a lot of interactions with different business owners. I've had a passion for business forever. And so versus us just trying to go and get different deals, we're really trying to understand like how can we collaborate with other entrepreneurs, other business owners to kind of support them, whether we do business with them or not, and kind of build like it's more of a we versus an I, right? Like there's 2 of us, but I guess from a business perspective, there's an I. And then there is like a we now that we're trying to bring in other people. And to your point, the reason, some people say, oh, you come up with a word for the year, like how much does that actually do? But to your point, visibility last year kind of helped you kind of not stay on track, but essentially pull you back up when things were tough, as happens in life and in business. And so this year with community, it's kind of like, hey, why are we doing this again? Or, if you start doubting or questioning things, you might be asking that. But like now, we're like, oh, this is for a sense of community. And I think that's a really good spot.
John, on community, I would also say too is we're going to be doing some new initiatives this year to embrace more community. And so one of those things, last year we launched Tech Tuesday, and Tech Tuesday was a virtual meetup for founders who are looking to enhance their tech stack and get more support in that, right? As we like to walk alongside our not only clients, but our community as a tech partner. And this year, I'm really excited to launch an person Tech Tuesday. So it's a neat dynamic that if you don't know, John and I have only met twice in person, and we've built this company. He's on the East Coast, I'm in the middle of the country. And so if you're in San Antonio and want to join this in-person live Tech Tuesday, we're going to be focusing in on helping to reduce the overwhelm, the chaos that comes with building a business, and really focusing in on how can you enhance your tech stack, because our mission is to help you save time, money, and energy. And so as we're doing that, we want you to succeed and be able to get back that time. And John and I were talking about, we create these systems for our clients and we want them to use them. We want you to utilize them. We're not here trying to, just get the invoices paid. We're here to really help you be more in tune with the company, but also in tune with what is it that you want. You got into business for what? For freedom, for lifestyle, for that next level gain. And so we're here to walk alongside as a tech partner. And that's one of the ways. And we're going to have some other community forums that really trying to cultivate a space to not only educate, but to help reduce that overwhelm. And I'm really excited for that. And we're going to drop a little seed here in a second. But John, what's coming up for you regarding community?
Yeah, I mean, on the community side too, entrepreneurship and business ownership can be very lonely, right? And we go to different networking events, but a lot of times, depending on the community that you're in or the building that you're in, essentially you're shaking hands, passing out business cards. It's a little bit more superficial. And I know when we spoke about you kind of having some more of those in-person meetups this year, it came back more as like we want this collaboration with people, not like you're definitely going to be teaching and helping people figure a lot of that stuff out that you just mentioned, but it's not going to be come in, talk at them, leave, and hope that they sign up to work with us. Like if they sign up to work with us, great, but really it's building that community, because you want to make sure that we hold on to that, and I think that's amazing. And I know I've been in different networking groups or just different networking events, and that there's a different energy when people are there more for the collaboration versus the like, what's in it for me? How many business cards can I collect as leads, or how many business cards can I pass out to people? And so I really like the way that you're going about this, and the kind of the way that we've looked at that this year. Of like, of course, it's going to lead to some visibility and things, but it's really how do we keep our energy high with a lot of those things that aren't just sales calls and kind of black and white. Like I have a blast doing the implementations that we do. Like I truly have a lot of fun with that. But there's also, both of us being obviously somewhat of extroverts, like we want to have that community and like the people involved. And so this is going to help scratch that itch too at the same time. So it's not just black and white business, just spending 8 or 10 hours a day on a computer trying to get the next sale.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm excited. I feel like I've been holding this back. And so I want to share some exciting news this year. And part of the reason we're able to do these more frequently and bringing in the in-person and creating the online piece of it in a way that's really going to be elevated this year is because I went full time. So we both have, worked really hard to get this company to where it's at today. And the whole premise of this podcast is overnight success, which we've honed in, and that's never a reality. It takes a lot of grit and hard work and time and energy and effort, and we've really kind of found that lane. And so excited to be here full time to support not only our clients, but the community that we're cultivating. And so, yeah, really looking forward to seeing how that kind of progresses over the year. This year is all about showing up in a different kind of way with that energy so that we can serve. And I think that's the biggest thing here is we're here to serve the people. Like, we want to empower these companies to be able to really do what they're good at. And Jon, we've talked about it several times. One of the examples is the baker, and they hired a baker to, do the thing that they were passionate about because they started this company, but they don't need to do this bookkeeping and all these things. They don't need to figure out the tech stack. Like, let us help with the things we're good at and let our customers, our community, our clients, like, stay in their lane and really do what they're good at. And so excited to cultivate that and see where this year takes us because it is ready. I feel like we're on that rocket ship and we're ready for that next level.
Yeah, 100%. I remember, obviously it's always been in the back of both of our minds as we're like marching towards this and things like that. But towards the end of the year, when we started talking about making this a reality, that is the scariest decision pretty much as a business owner, right? And I'm sure there's plenty more scary decisions to come down the road as we continue to grow this business. But that is such a big leap and really scary to kind of jump on. But like we did it and we're doing this strategically. And to your point, it wasn't just a leap and cross our fingers. It was, what are ways that we can do to keep the energy going, and what are ways we can do to make sure that this business can sustain that. And like I'm super excited to your point, and it pulls away a lot of the arm tied behind your back metaphor, right? There's you had so much energy for it with whatever you had left at the end of the day, so being able to give full energy to this business all the time is incredible, and I'm excited. Like, now I'm nervous on my end that I'm going to have so much more to implement, but like that's a good problem to have. And then we'll continue to grow the team. Like those are the true steps, like back to the grade school metaphor of like the different grades. Like, we are slowly maturing and growing as a business, and those are what every business owner kind of dreams of. And so it's really exciting to be in this phase. And as we kick off the year, I feel like one thing we haven't talked about yet, and this isn't 100% related to you going in full time, but this is kind of setting goals for the year. And we were talking about, flip of the calendar, the number one thing people focus on is health and fitness. And like that is really important. And this year I'm viewing it in a different light than I used to, kind of focusing on longevity, not doing it because I just want to look better in the mirror and society thinks that, or I think society says I should, but really more for like just the well-being of myself. And you were talking about entrepreneurship and how when people make that leap, one of the biggest goals is a better lifestyle, the freedom. But many people get stuck in that habit or in the world of basically they've went from a 40-hour-a-week job to now a 60-hour-a-week job that doesn't pay as well, right? Like that's a very common thing, especially when you first make that leap, and it's really scary. But as we set goals, like systems are a big part of that. And so, yes, many of our guest episodes, we try not to go all the way down the systems route. Like, we're trying to get inspiration and learn from other business owners. The two that I recorded earlier, both of them are kind of in the real estate game. We're not going to be teaching a lot about real estate. We're learning more about like the ups and downs of business ownership. But I think as business owners are looking at the future, time savings or just like time back or better lifestyle should really be a big part of that, not always increase revenue by 30% year over year. And I think that's where I'm excited that we can really help this year, especially with you going full time, is now we have that extra energy that, where we're doing business with them or in the community that you're building, these business owners that are in that 40, now 60 hours a week, less pay, like we're going to help them start looking through a different lens to start getting that lifestyle back.
Yeah. Yeah. You touched on fitness, and I love fitness. I do believe it's a very powerful piece. I may have said it before in the podcast, but just to reiterate, like, fitness has been such a big part of my journey. And I believe it's because it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. And when I show up in the gym, I personally like heavy lifting and I enjoy sprinting, which is weird. Everybody I tell I like sprinting, they're like, never heard that before. People like running, but I'm like, no, I don't want to run long distance. Like, let me just sprint and be done with it. But those two things show up for me of like, I want to sprint. I want this year to be a power year. I want to prove that we can do the hard things, not only for us, but for our community. Because as we show up and we do those hard things, and we've learned along the way, being in this business now for multiple years, we've been able to help several companies get further fast. And I think when we look at, bringing in the fitness analogy back of doing the hard thing, proving to not only myself that I can continue to break down those barriers is what we're doing in this organization as well, where we're like, hey, we can't figure it out. And, one thing I'll touch on here, or we can't figure it out, but we're going to break through that glass ceiling and figure it out. And the thing I wanted to say was AI is definitely a component of our company today. And that's not something that we were looking at 3, 4, 5 years ago. And what we're doing is we're intertwining that and becoming your tech partner and your expert so that you can continue to stay in that lane. And I think it's important that when we look at how AI is shifting the marketplace, it's not a bad thing. It's going to help us make our company better for our clients. And we're going to continue to be on the front end of learning those things as well in a way that, we don't know what we don't know. And that's the same thing when you show up to fitness. You don't know what you don't know, but you're showing up and you're learning along the way. And so I just want to empower you. I think that's super cool that you're leaning into that this year, Jon. And as a fitness enthusiast, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know, because I think in some of our co-founder conversations, we should lean on that. We should talk about how these things correlate. And, there's so many life hacks and morning routines and all these different things that, the gurus are talking about. And as we set new goals, nobody needs to hear how we set our goals. Everybody's got their own method for that. And everybody else seems to be talking about that at the beginning of the year. But the thing is how do you show up? How do you execute? And fitness is one of the ways that you can prove to yourself, you can hold yourself accountable and really do those things without breaking promises to yourself. So that was kind of a rambly tangent, but I think it's powerful.
It is. Well, and I think like when I look up to like really extreme entrepreneurs, when I say extreme, I mean like successful entrepreneurs, they talk about their different habits, their morning routines, how much they're traveling. And I know my reaction sometimes, and a lot of people's reaction is like, well, it must be easy because like you have all this money and you have all this time. Well, that didn't happen through luck, right? Like they a lot of times they start building those systems in place. Now, I also know people that are really well off financially in their business, but they're working harder and sweating more than you and I are. Right. Like, so there's a lot of a balance there. And sometimes there's some things there like control issues or other things that they need to figure out in order to get out of that. But if you start putting in those repetitions, like if we keep making this relation back to fitness, right? Fitness you can't go from, you can't start doing like one push-up a day today. And then all of a sudden 4 weeks from now, you've lost 20 pounds and, you have all this fitness. Like it takes time, but you have to start putting in the systems now so that way you stick with it, right? And so if you're trying to become that really successful entrepreneur that travels with their family all the time and only seems to work 25 or 30 hours a week, that starts by, a lot of that is from people, but you can't put people in place until systems. We've talked about that before. And so as you start looking at like what that ideal, if you take away all of your obstacles today and like, what do you want this business to look like for you? Like start being excited about that. And then maybe you're 10 steps away or 100 steps away. But in order to get there, some things need to change. And a lot of that comes down to the time and the system. So that's why I'm really excited this year and kind of getting even more passionate than what we have been of how to, just like fitness trainers love helping people get in shape and like change their life around. I'm kind of applying that in the business world of how do we get in front of more people to show them what lifestyle they could be living if they got back an extra 10 or 15 hours a week, or what does it look like when they don't have to check in with their team all the time because they have the right systems in place so they can just execute versus trying to update 5 systems at the same time and having all these meetings and things like that. So that's my passion this year inside of the business. On the personal side, I mentioned the fitness piece. And together, like it's really creating a well-rounded lifestyle, I think. And then it's going to allow me to spend more time with family and put more energy back into the family versus running around trying to balance 25 plates at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be powerful and excited to kind of check in on that as we go, right? Like there's a lot of accountability there. And as the season progresses, we can talk through that. And I also think it'd be cool to bring that into a lens of how that plays out with the founders that we're meeting with as well this season. And maybe they're like, no, I'm not into fitness at all. And that's totally fine. But does it play a factor? Because I do know a lot of successful founders that I follow online are very into fitness. And so that'll be really neat to see. John, what else do you want to talk about? Where else are we going this season?
Yeah, I think, we're looking at the interviews with some people. I've interviewed a couple. You have a couple people on the list that you're going to be interviewing. But one common thing, and one thing I try to push when I did my last two interviews, is this is not about the numbers of your business. Sometimes we'll bring those in sometimes just to kind of hear about it because those are inspirational. But it's realizing how those founders made it through like the grit and the suck, right? And kind of how they pushed through, or just like the lessons that they learned. And I reflect back on last year. One of my favorite episodes was when I interviewed Ben Wilson with like the hot dog cart, how he went from owning, multiple furniture stores to bankrupt and then kind of bounce back. And it's creating that habit of being able to bounce back, I think, for one. And kind of just understanding that you have to always be pivoting and kind of keep pushing through that. So as we continue to talk to founders and business owners, I want to kind of be able to pull on that thread a little bit more during our interviews, because I think the stuff that Ben was doing with his hot dog cart business can apply to many other industries, right? Like I love listening to that because I was interested in that particular industry, but he had so many life lessons there. So my favorite thing about our interviews is pulling out those lessons that can apply to almost any industry. And so as our audience listens, they can kind of pull that and said, oh yeah, he's in real estate. I don't want to go anywhere near real estate. I'm in dog sitting or, like dog grooming, but like there's probably some overlap there. And we've noticed it in our implementations, right? We say 80% of businesses are kind of similar from what they need systems wise. And then there's that 20% uniqueness. Well, let's keep talking about the 80% as we talk to founders, because I want to help all of our listeners as much as possible.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. So we're here to serve and help, right? We want to be helpful and help reduce the tech overwhelm, help create the systems that help you get more time back as a business owner. And we're really here to passionately serve in a way that does that for our community. And so with that, as we kind of mentioned at the beginning of the episode, is we're doing these in seasons. And the reason is because we do want to come and show up and serve the best that we can. And so this is a podcast to highlight the founder's journey of and really sharing those stories back. And, if you're interested in being a guest, let us know. And with that being said, John, I'm really looking forward to this next season and diving deep in with these business owners that we've got lined up so far.
Yeah, it's good. We were looking at numbers before, already 32 episodes last year that we recorded. So we're kicking off, another season with quick math, that's like 16 episodes roughly a season. So plenty of great people to meet and interview, new lessons to be learned, both of us being passionate about business. Whether I take away or not, it's great to just learn what some of these other business owners have gone through. And I look forward to hearing those stories. You and I talked about a couple more founder conversations kind of similar to this, just because we both have similarities, but we also bring unique perspectives on things. So I'm sure that as technology, especially around AI, continues to evolve, there will be plenty of conversations to be had, whether you use that for your personal life, for business, or just some crazy things. CES just happened in Las Vegas. Robots are kind of the new big thing now, helping fold laundry and all of that. We are not getting into that game. I know we didn't talk about it, but I'm definitely we are not getting into that world, but there's plenty of other tools out there that I know that I could see us starting to implement for our customers.
Yeah. And so with that, I'll kind of conclude us here and say, this podcast, we're not going to do ads, and we're going to continue to provide value here for our community. So if you can, like and subscribe, share it with your friends. And then also you can find us on socials, and we would love to stay connected. We also do a newsletter, and the biggest thing is, as we cultivate this community, I would encourage you to join us for Tech Tuesday. It is a way for you to ask questions and for us to provide value for your tech stack. And so we're here to be helpful and looking forward to a successful 2026 year.
Yeah, thank you, Cristy. I'm looking forward to it, and hope everybody else has a great kickoff to the new year, 2026.